Australian scientists worked on an important research project under the thick ice of East Antarctica's O'Brien Bay in late 2016. They'd sent a remote-operated vehicle, ROV, down a hole in the ice to retrieve data logging equipment. The ROV had a camera mounted. What it showed the scientists was both completely unexpected and vividly beautiful. The scientists were working for the Australian Antarctic Division, AAD, which is part of the National Department of the Environment. The Kingston, Tasmania Division operates 3 permanent bases in Antarctica: Casey, Davis, and Mawson. The researchers at O'Brien Bay worked out of the Casey station. Casey was constructed between 1964 and 1969 near the site of a disused U.S. base, Wilkes, that had earlier become overwhelmed by the encroaching Antarctic snow and ice. The original Casey itself fell victim to corrosion caused by the ferocious Antarctic conditions. Consequently, it was rebuilt toward the end of the 1980s. Casey was initially named REPSTAT, simply an abbreviation of Replacement Station, but this was changed to honor Australia's Governor-General, Richard Casey. He was in office when the base was first opened in 1969 and had been a keen advocate of Antarctic research for the previous 2 decades. The 1969 Casey had been built to an innovative design involving elevated buildings, which were set in a long line and connected by a tunnel made from corrugated sheet metal. The idea was that the elevated position of the buildings would act to stop the buildup of snowdrifts that had left the previous U.S. base unusable. But the tunnel's iron construction was prone to corrosion mentioned earlier. Then in the late 1980s, a comprehensive rebuilding program of the full set of Australian Antarctic research bases was agreed. New bases, among them Casey, were built around steel frames set into robust concrete foundations. These new stations offered a more comfortable existence to the scientists based in remote Antarctic conditions. Casey even has a bar, Splinters, whose beer is brewed on site. Work at Casey has included research into the Law Dome, a massive ice formation rising 4,850 feet into the skies. Other research has investigated the geology of the bedrock that the East Antarctic ice cap rests on and the processes that drive the formation of glaciers. Casey Station researchers have also involved a project to study the Adelie penguin. This major international effort to study these birds, which included scientists from France, Australia, and Japan, made a startling announcement about its findings in 2017. Previous estimates had put the East Antarctic Adelie population at about 2.4 million, but the scientists now revised that upwards to as many as 6 million. That's a lot of penguins. But the scientists at O'Brien Bay, who dug a hole in the ice and sent their ROV down into the freezing Antarctic waters, worked on an entirely different piece of research. They were investigating one of the possible impacts that increased CO2 levels and global warming might have on the world's oceans. One of the results of carbon dioxide-driven climate change is an alteration to the pH value of seawater around the world, with the water becoming less alkaline and more acidic. This is because the increase in the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere means an increase in gas dissolved in the oceans. The AAD quoted the project leader, Dr. Johnny Stark. Carbon dioxide is more soluble in cold water. Polar waters are acidifying at twice the rate of tropical or temperate regions, so we expect these ecosystems to be among the first impacted from ocean acidification, Stark explained. Stark also pointed out that some 25% of the carbon dioxide that finds its way into our atmosphere ends up in the oceans. Research shows the pink encrusting algae, known as crustose coralline algae, may decrease in extent in a more acidic future ocean. Antarctica may be one of the first places we see detrimental effects on ocean acidification on these organisms, Dr. Stark added. In pursuit of this research into ocean acidification caused by climate change, the Casey Station researchers had placed data recording equipment beneath the ice in O'Brien Bay. This equipment was able to measure the acidity and other properties of the seawater at 60-minute intervals. And as we've seen, the ROV that was used to retrieve the recording equipment was fitted with a camera. It was when the scientists viewed the footage captured by this camera that they got an astounding insight into the life that lies below the ice of O'Brien's Bay. The ice is about 5 feet thick for some 10 months of the year. Consequently, the water temperature beneath it is a constant 29.3 degrees Fahrenheit. and the ROV with its camera and lights recorded images at depths of about 100 feet. The AAD website quoted one of the scientists, biologist Dr. Glenn Johnstone. He said, "When you think of the Antarctic coastal marine environment, the iconic species such as penguins, seals, and whales usually steal the show. This footage reveals a habitat that's productive, colorful, dynamic, and full of a wide variety of biodiversity, including sponges, sea spiders, urchins, sea cucumbers, and sea stars." Johnstone warmed to his theme when he spoke to the Australian TV station ABC. "It's an area that we've been working very closely to for a long time, but we've never actually dived or put any cameras down," Johnstone said. "It was a great surprise to find such a beautiful, vibrant environment." "When you're up above, there's very little color," Johnstone continued. "There's whites and blues and grays. All the animals are black and white, and as cute as they are, the real diversity and the real health of the environment is down on the seafloor." What's more, the diversity of life in these freezing waters includes a wide variety of species. The underwater footage revealed sponges, pink algae, starfish, and bizarre-looking worms. Sea spiders, urchins, and sea cucumbers also featured. Remarkably, they gave what you might have expected to a barren environment an extraordinary palette of bright colors. So this vital research project at O'Brien's Bay, aimed at finding out more about how climate change might affect the world's oceans, had one very welcome but unintended outcome. We now know that a dynamic and astonishingly colorful variety of sea creatures populates the seabed beneath the frozen wastes of the Arctic ice.